Where is Emily? It was a dreary, rainy evening in the small town of Millfield. The clouds hung low in the sky, casting a shadow over the usually cheerful streets. The sound of raindrops echoed through the empty alleys as children hurried home from school. But for one family, the rain was a fitting backdrop to the despair that had descended upon them. When 12-year-old Emily failed to arrive home, her parents grew increasingly worried. They called her friends, including her best friend and classmate, Lily. Lily searched the neighborhood and checked with the school, but Emily was nowhere to be found. As the night grew darker and the rain continued to fall, Emily's mother began to cry, tears streaming down her face. "Where is my baby?" she sobbed. What could have happened to her? The weight of the situation was heavy on them all, and the unanswered questions were almost too much to bear. The morning after Emily's disappearance, the town of Millfield was abuzz with news and rumors. Police had been called to investigate, and a search party had been organized to comb the area for any clues. Emily's mother was inconsolable, and her father was beside himself with worry. Meanwhile, Lily and the other children at school were in a state of shock. How could something like this happen in their small, quiet town? As the day wore on, the rain cleared and the sun came out, but the mood in Millfield remained somber and tense. Everyone was on edge, waiting for any word on Emily's whereabouts. The search for the missing girl had begun in earnest, but would it yield any answers? As news of Emily's disappearance spread through the town, the police launched a full-scale investigation. They combed the area for any signs of the missing girl, and interviewed witnesses and potential suspects. At the school, they reviewed CCTV footage to see if there were any clues to her whereabouts. Lily and the other students were questioned, and Emily's parents were asked about their last interactions with their daughter. As the investigation continued, tensions grew higher, and the waiting became more unbearable. Everyone in Millfield wanted answers, but no one knew where to find them. The only thing that was clear was that Emily was gone, and the town would never be the same again. Detective Jameson was the lead investigator on Emily's case, and he took the search for the missing girl very seriously. He spent long hours poring over the evidence, interviewing witnesses, and following up on leads. The CCTV footage from the school was a crucial piece of evidence, and he watched it over and over, looking for any sign of Emily or anyone acting suspiciously. He also coordinated with other law enforcement agencies in the area to see if there were any similar cases or patterns that could shed light on Emily's disappearance. Despite his best efforts, the investigation seemed to be at a standstill, and the people of Millfield grew increasingly worried about what might have happened to their young neighbor. Detective Jameson knew that time was of the essence, and he redoubled his efforts to find Emily before it was too late. He stared at the photo of Emily on his desk, feeling a pang of sadness and empathy. She was so young, with a bright smile and innocent eyes. Looking at her photo reminded him of his own daughter, who had gone missing years before. He couldn't help but see echoes of his own pain and grief in Emily's mother's tear-stained face. But he knew that he couldn't let his own feelings cloud his judgment or distract him from the task at hand. He had to stay focused, stay sharp, and do everything in his power to find Emily and bring her home. The weight of responsibility was heavy on his shoulders, but he was determined not to let another family suffer the same heartache that his had. Detective Jameson took a deep breath before knocking on the door of Emily's father's house. He knew that accusing a parent of their child's disappearance was a delicate and risky move, but he had to follow every lead and consider every possibility. Emily's father, Mr. Williams, answered the door with a tired expression on his face. Jameson introduced himself and explained the purpose of his visit. Mr. Williams was visibly shaken and denied any involvement in Emily's disappearance, but Jameson noticed that he was fidgeting and avoiding eye contact. As Jameson pressed him for more information, Mr. Williams eventually admitted that he had been working at a real estate firm in the city on the day of Emily's disappearance, which was why his cell phone had been pinging off of towers in that area. Jameson's suspicion only grew stronger, and he made a mental note to follow up on this lead as he moved on to the next suspect on his list. He had just left Mr. Williams' house and was driving back to the police station when he saw something in the road. He pulled over and got out of his car to investigate. It was Emily's shoe, lying in a puddle 2 blocks from her parents' house. Jameson's heart sank as he picked it up, realizing that this was the first concrete piece of evidence he had found so far. Jameson arrived home late that evening, exhausted and stressed. He walked into the house to find his wife, Callie, setting the table for dinner. She noticed the look on his face and asked him what was wrong. Jameson hesitated for a moment, then decided to confide in her. He told her about the case he was working on and how it was consuming him. He described Emily's disappearance and the various suspects he was investigating, including her own father. Callie listened patiently, her hand resting on his arm, as he poured out his frustrations and fears. Finally, he fell silent, and they ate their dinner in relative quiet. Callie could see the toll that the case was taking on her husband, and she knew that he was too dedicated to his work to take a break. She resolved to support him in any way she could, knowing that he needed all the help he could get to solve this mystery and bring Emily home. The next day, Detective Jameson resumed his investigation into Emily's disappearance. He interviewed her classmates, teachers, and the school bus driver, but none of them had any useful information. Frustrated, Jameson decided to delve deeper into Emily's personal life. He revisited her home and requested to speak with her mother, who had been inconsolable since Emily's disappearance. Jameson inquired about Emily's relationship with her father and any recent changes in her behavior or routines. Emily's mother seemed genuinely distraught and couldn't provide any information that could assist the investigation. Jameson also re-interviewed Emily's father, but his alibi checked out. Despite this, Jameson couldn't shake the feeling that something was amiss with the Williams family. He researched and discovered that Emily's parents had recently filed for divorce, and the custody battle was getting intense. Jameson began to suspect that one of the parents might be using Emily as leverage in the divorce proceedings. Further investigations into Emily's life revealed that she was unhappy and struggling with the divorce. Jameson also found out that she had been secretly dating a boy at school, which opened up a new line of investigation. Detective Jameson's inquiry led him to Emily's secret boyfriend, who turned out to be the son of her English teacher. Jameson found out that the boy was well-liked among the students, but was rarely in class and spent most of his time outside the school. Jameson wondered if the teacher knew what her son was up to and whether she was covering for him. As he continued to dig deeper, Jameson discovered that the teacher had a history of being lenient with her students and turning a blind eye to their misbehavior. She had even been reprimanded by the school administration a few times for this. Jameson began to suspect that the teacher might have been involved in Emily's disappearance either directly or by covering up for her son's involvement. However, Jameson knew he couldn't jump to conclusions and needed concrete evidence before making an arrest. He decided to intensify his surveillance of the teacher and her son, hoping to catch them in the act or find some incriminating evidence. He knew that time was running out, and he needed to solve the case before it was too late. Jameson questioned Emily's boyfriend about his relationship with her and whether he had any idea of her whereabouts. The boyfriend revealed that his mother, Emily's English teacher, didn't like Emily much. She believed that Emily was the reason behind her son's bad behavior and thought that he was better off without her. This gave Jameson another reason to suspect the teacher's involvement in Emily's disappearance. Jameson decided to confront the teacher with the evidence he had gathered so far. He went to the school and met with her in her classroom. The teacher was initially defensive, but Jameson's gentle yet firm approach made her open up. She admitted that she didn't like Emily and thought she was a bad influence on her son. But she denied any involvement in Emily's disappearance and insisted that she had no idea where she could be. As they spoke, the teacher started to break down in tears. She admitted that she didn't like Emily and had treated her harshly at school. She was worried about her son and believed that Emily was a bad influence on him. However, she vehemently denied having anything to do with Emily's disappearance. Jameson listened carefully, noting the teacher's emotional reaction. He knew that sometimes people broke down when they were guilty, but he also knew that sometimes people were just emotional. He decided to keep her on the suspect list, but also to look for other leads. With no new leads, the case was at a standstill. I hope you enjoyed the story. If you guys want to know what happened next, please like the video and subscribe to the channel. Thank you for watching. See you with part 2 of the story.